Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakbadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone. Salutations to the elect, being the sheep of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. Yahweh is a true name of the Heavenly Father, which the world ignorantly calls God. Ba'ashem means in the name of, and Yahushai is a true name of the Son, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. His true name is Yahushai. Those are the names in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. And today I'm going to be speaking about this picture. It says, Army sees recruiting boom fueled by renewed sense of patriotism. Okay, now this is an article from Fox News. The Army is seeing its strongest recruiting comeback in years, which is bullshit. Patriotism, a sense of purpose, and greater career opportunities are seen as the top reasons behind this recruiting surge. Okay, I'll go back to that in a second, but I want to type in this precept. Something along. Yeah, okay. So let's go here first. Right, so the main point of this lesson is war going, the spirit going sent on these people to join the military. Okay, spirit of war is approaching. There is the Lord is putting the spirit on certain people to join the military, right? And so, so I wanted to basically go into, first of all, somebody I knew recently, through a mutual person, I know, basically, this woman, she basically, and her husband just signed up recently for the military, right? And this is a woman, okay? And both her and her husband signed up to the military just now, okay? Because they wanted a good job and good benefits. Okay, now the Lord is putting a spirit on certain people to join the military now. And ultimately, that's part of prophecy, okay? Now, just because they join the military doesn't mean they're going to end up, a lot of these people are not going to end up actually, some of them will actually, end up actually going into battle and actually, basically, participating in this war. But some of them, aren't going to even fight in the war. Okay, and let's bring out this first precept, right? Let's go Jeremiah 50 and let's see 45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes, that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, and surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Okay. Basically, that least of the flock is speaking about Amalek, which are the tiny tops that you know of, those people with those little hats, okay, that live in the land of Ai, okay. Those people are part of the reason why Americans, the Northern American Army, the American Army, is in this war right now, okay. Well, ultimately, this is all because of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, but the reason they're there is because they're fighting for those people in the land of Israel, okay? And the Lord is putting a spirit on a lot of people to get ready for military, okay? For a wartime, okay? Let's bring this out. Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. It says, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. Okay, it says right here, going back, it says the Army's recruiting has climbed nearly 38% overall since the fiscal year of 2022. Okay, The Army's recruiting has nearly climbed 38% overall since the fiscal year of 2022 low. Okay? It says the Army reached its 2026 active duty recruiting goal months ahead of schedule, with more than 61,500 future soldiers already signed on to serve. Okay? And this is just the beginning of it. They have this draft by 2026. As you can see, I can look this up. 2026 December draft automatic. Right? They have an automatic registration, right? So it says young eligible men will be automatically registered for the military draft pool starting in December. Okay, so these people are preparing for a time of war. Okay, and the Lord's putting the Spirit on certain people to join the military now. Okay, and another thing is, they're pumping out all these different advertisements for the military. And people just gobble that up like it's turkey or something, bro. Because, all it takes is for somebody to watch a movie like Forrest Gump. And you have some people out here, they're so persuaded. They watch a movie like Forrest Gump or Saving Private Ryan. One of these movies, whatever you call it. Next thing you know, bro, they're in the fucking military because they get inspired by one of these movies or whatever, okay? And then you have, all these different commercials they put on, SoundCloud. They even put on the U.S. military, advertisements, okay? So ultimately, this devil's pushing out this agenda of join the military, okay? And if you join the military, bro, you're done. You're gonna be fighting against Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Ultimately, the Lord's gonna end up destroying you in the end, because there's no in this third woe, okay, this third world war, it's not gonna be it's not gonna end well for these people, okay. It's actually prophesied that your bodies are gonna end up literally being destroyed in the Middle East, okay? There's not going to be no funeral for you. There's not going to be some open casket ceremony. No, your bodies are going to be left to decompose. Let's bring this out. Joel chapter 2, verse 20. It says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army." That's speaking about the Northern American Army, the United States Army, right? And it says, "And will drive him into a land barren and desolate," okay, with his face toward the east, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things, okay? So his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. And ultimately, that's speaking about the Middle East, okay, aka the Levant, right? American Army is going to literally end up dying there. Okay, they're going to be sent out to war and end up dying, okay, and their bodies are going to end up being decomposing in the ground, and that's why it speaks about that, right? Right here it says, "And his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things." And that's the thing, man. Esau Edom, he thinks like his army, the Northern American Army, these people were so scared of America, Babylon the Great for all these years, right? They were so scared, but now these other countries, the Spirit's on them to prepare, and they're not gonna have whatever they they're using everybody and anything now, and they're more prepared than ever, okay. They're recruiting little kids to kill people, okay. And once those American troops hit on foreign soil, man, these people are going to have no mercy, okay. And ultimately it's going to lead to complete destruction. of American Army, okay, and Slovakia. Let's go here. And another thing, the American Army, it's really, they're really losing, man. Because if you taken apart you know their recent military operations, you had a let's bring this out. Uh, let's see, a fake plane bombed. The U.S. Army ended up bombing a plane that wasn't even real. Right? It was a actual, it was a drawing in the ground. Okay, it wasn't actually, it was just a decoy. Okay, they literally were drawing planes in the ground, and Americans were spending you know millions of dollars on bombs, or they had one plane that was, I think, $500 million, and it was like a $30,000 bomb for these Iranians to destroy that. Okay, so they're really losing. Okay, but you're gonna see it real soon. Let's go back to let's see, Isaiah 24:6. Therefore had the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. Okay, because the Spirit is going to be sent, on a lot of these men to join the military. Okay, and a lot of them are going to be drafted into the military, and there's going to be a lot less men on the earth for these women now, because what does the scripture say, right? 2 Ezra 16:33. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Okay, so a lot of these women, their men are gonna get sent off to the military. Okay, and then it's gonna be to a point where it's gonna be so bad, man. These women are gonna be mourning because all the men get sent to the military, to war just to fucking die. Okay, and that spirit of the whole spirit is gonna change, bro. And then the Lord said, "What? I will make a man, okay, an Israelite man, more precious than fine gold." Right? That's when you're gonna see women. They're gonna start to be more content with having to share one man, right? Because ultimately there's going to be so few men out there, because all of them died in war, right? That they're going to be basically a lot of these women are going to be desperate, okay? And it's also because of the conditions that are going to be happening. There's going to be it's going to be so much trouble outdoors, okay? People are going to be like madmen, sparing none. They're not going to people are going to be eating each other, killing each other, blowing each other up, chopping people's heads off. Once these women see that, they're not gonna fucking care, okay? They're not gonna care. But they're gonna want to be with a man, okay? Specifically the man of the Lord, okay? And the men of the Lord are also going to be rejecting a lot of these women, because ultimately, during this time period, it's gonna be so bad. A lot of men are just gonna have very Lord's gonna put the spirit on them to basically turn a lot of these evil ass women down. Okay, he's gonna put a spirit on them to basically turn a lot of these evil ass women away, because ultimately they're just wicked, and yeah, let's go here. Let me see. Yeah, but the Lord is gonna put the spirit on a lot of these men to basically turn these women down, because they're used. They have nasty attitudes. Okay, they've already they're old. Okay, they have no They're not assets, they're liabilities. And when a time of destruction comes, a lot of men of the Lord, they're not going to want to deal with that. So, they're just going to end up, ultimately being left out. A lot of these women are going to be left out to literally die. Okay? Let's go to, bring this out, Joel 3 and 2. All right, going back to this this verse. Let's bring this out. Joel 3 and 2. It says, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yehoshaphat, right? And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, where they have scattered among the nations and parted my land, right? So, once again, man, a lot of these, these military men are going to be sent off to die, okay, in the land of the Levant, right? And that it's going to cause, there's going to be a shortage of men, okay, and ultimately, who's going to be left? Okay, the elect, okay. The elect is going to be the remaining, okay. Let's go here. Okay, we brought that out. I'll bring one more precept. Jeremiah 51 and 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might have failed, and they became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Okay, so even though you see these people, they're signing up for the military right now. Okay, a lot of them, once they first of all, once they actually, end up getting, shipped or, placed on their duty, once it comes down to that, they're not going to actually end up doing their job. A lot of them are actually going to, they're going to fail miserably. The Lord's going to put the Spirit on them to fail miserably, right? Because in these military, these people, a lot of them are just, just there for the money. They're really just hirelings, right? And they just were there for maybe a Dodge Charger or $100,000 check that the military recruiter promised them, or a pension or whatever the fuck you call it. Okay, really, these people they really didn't expect themselves. They just thought it would be a quick money grab. Okay, but soon when they get deployed, then they're gonna realize, oh fuck. Well, what did I get myself into? And a lot of them end up just going to be, getting shot in the head, blown up in the smithereens, because, and a lot of them aren't going to even, the Spirit's not going to be on them to even go out and when it's time for, battle, okay? Because, Salakia, a lot of these people in the military, they're homosexuals, transgenders. A lot of them had just stayed inside and just played games all day. Okay, a lot of them are don't really even know how to use guns. Okay, so Esau is just getting whoever for his military. And it's really showing. A lot of these people in the military, all they knew how to do was TikTok dances, and they didn't really think that, they didn't really count the cost of what they signed up for. So, and also, once these people, when they see Yahushua with them chariots, man, they're gonna be fucking, spooked out of their fucking mind. Okay, when they see the elect, with those chariots, okay, those chariots that are bigger than the earth, okay, they're not gonna do anything. Because Esau's military, it's not going to stand a chance, okay? And so, that's pretty much all I wanted to go into, man. I don't know if I have any other precepts that I have here. But yeah, the Lord is putting on the Spirit for people to sign up for the military. And he's setting the stage up for prophecy. These people are are getting ready for basically the slaughter of themselves. It's what you call a cannon fodder, right? Yeah, I'll just pull up this word real quick. It says cannon fodder. It says cannon fodder is soldiers regarded as treated as expendable in battle. Okay, expendable. Okay, so that's what it says soldiers likely to be killed or wounded in combat. Okay, so soldiers likely to be wounded or killed in combat, meaning, they're just sent there just to be like pawns. Just another piece on the chessboard, man. That's all Esau thinks of these people as, and that's ultimately the Lord's. That's a judgment for a lot of these people, right? When they realize that they're not going to be in the military, they're not going to get their G-Wagon, their Dodge Charger, their $100,000 check. All that shit's fucking bullshit, man. When they're sent in the middle of a fucking minefield, and people around them are exploding, and then they're gonna realize, what the fuck did I get myself into? But ultimately that's the judgment for these people. But I just wanted to bring that out, and that's pretty much all I have to go into. Yeah, so Lord willing, this is edifying and an exhorting lesson. Okay, and Lord willing, this is edifying once again. I'm gonna give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and peace and salutations to the elect feeding the sheep of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai,